In the heartland of America, a quiet, sleepy town is about to become the final battlefield. Absolute Superman 13 throws the new Man of Steel into a battle against the very definition of power itself. If you haven't been keeping up with DC's Absolute Universe, then give me 1 minute and I'll bring you into the war for Kansas and the soul of Superman. So the first important thing to note is that Absolute Superman is not Clark Kent. He is Kal-El, an alien visitor, and he has only been here for about 5 years. He grew up on Krypton and saw the devastation firsthand. His parents had tried to save as many people as possible, but Kal is the only survivor along with his AI-powered suit Sol. When he arrived on Earth, he was quickly set upon by the forces of the Lazarus Corporation, a private military empire with government contracts, black site operations, and a portfolio that stretches from Silicon Valley to the war zones across the globe. If there's money to be made or power to be seized, they've already bought a stake. As the name alludes, the company is owned by Ra's al Ghul, who plans to drain the Earth of resources, effectively killing it, so that he can revive it and restore it to glory. But whose glory? Darkseid's. While Lazarus has taken over much of the planet, there are pockets of resistance, mostly inspired by Superman and his purity. But that doesn't make Superman a paragon of virtue. He struggles with his own feelings of anxiety and rage. There's nothing he'd love more than to rip Lazarus apart, stamp their peacemakers into dirt, and force people to respect their planet. But that isn't who he is. When the Lazarus Corp captured him and tried to brainwash him into becoming Ra's son, he stood firm. When he was able to escape their clutches, Superman fled to Smallville, the place where he had first arrived at, but the Lazarus Corp were not far behind him, and that's really where this issue picks up, with Ra's al Ghul's forces storming Smallville. Lazarus isn't just a villain group, they're an embodiment of modern corporatocracy. Their name evokes resurrection, the biblical man raised from the dead, and they sell extended life to the world's elite, but their version of life is abominable. Ra's envisages a future of fire pits and ghettos as far as the eye can see, with the remaining population serving his will and that of his god. Now, they haven't explicitly come out and said that he worships Darkseid, but his daughter Talia carries one of his father boxes, and she refers to it as an instrument of their god. Plus, there's the whole thing about the Absolute Universe being birthed from Darkseid. They wage war on Smallville, the mythic birthplace of Superman, not because it's strategically important, but because it represents something money can't own: community. This is a modern parable of capitalism versus conscience. They're not just trying to bring in Superman, they're trying to conquer hope and privatize morality itself. Lazarus effectively cut Smallville off from the rest of the world, so there's no way in, no way out, no internet, no power, and their utilities are cut off. It's essentially a siege, but that doesn't deter the people. When they rise up, they are inspired by Superman, and they're also unhappy with the state of their town, ever since Lazarus came in and bought everything up. There used to be a strong communal identity based on their jobs, mainly farmers, but now Lazarus owns everything and has shut them all down. There is nothing there for them. You can draw parallels between Lazarus and other real-world mega-corporations that come to small towns with big promises, but deliver very little. Superman has always been a symbol of potential, the idea that goodness can be practical. Here, he becomes the catalyst for human faith in humanity. This uprising reads like the reclaiming of agency in an age where individuals feel powerless under vast systems. It's the grassroots rebelling against the algorithm, proof that there still is such a thing as collective compassion. In order to shield the people from the peacemakers, Superman orders Sol to shift its focus to protecting the people instead of him, and Sol becomes an impenetrable fortress of sorts. Sol transforming into the Fortress of Solitude is very clever. Once, Superman's fortress was a monument to isolation, a crystalline structure in the wilderness of the North Pole. Now, it's communal defiance. That shift reflects the evolution from lone savior myth to shared resilience narrative. Superman has taken the old abandoned salt mines and repurposed them into a sanctuary with basic utilities that were denied to them by Lazarus. And it's here that one of the questions from an earlier issue gets answered. When Superman arrived on Earth, Lazarus discovered him pretty quickly. It was implied that one of the residents had reported him, and now we get confirmation. It was the town's mailman. He humbles himself and confesses his guilt directly to Superman, saying that he thought he was doing the right thing, but now knows that he was wrong. Yes, he was following the law, but just because something is legal that doesn't mean that it's right. He bought into Lazarus's fear-mongering about others and believed he was serving his community, but he can see how his actions had unintended consequences. The mailman's betrayal and repentance represents the everyman who compromises in the name of security, or worse, convenience. The worker who follows orders, trusting the system's morality. Superman's public forgiveness juxtaposed with his private anger is vital though. It's about how hard it is to truly forgive in an age of betrayal and misinformation. He resists vengeance, proving that moral strength isn't in victory but in restraint. Of course, he'd love to crush the mailman and get his revenge, but he knows that isn't the way. And I think that's something that a lot of us need to hear. It's perfectly natural to feel angry and to want to get vengeance on the people that wrong us, but that doesn't make it right. Maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but I often think about the things I'd like to do to the people that have ruined our society to line their own pockets. But to act on these thoughts would be immoral. It's okay to have a strong, negative reaction, so long as it's not your only reaction. And Superman displays the virtue of forgiveness. He takes the man's observational talents and asks him to become the lookout for their new community, to keep his eyes peeled for legitimate threats, putting him to good use. He's not the only one to contribute to the safety of the community either. Lois and Jimmy become the chroniclers of battle. Lois uses old-fashioned radio broadcasts to let the outside world know what is happening, while Jimmy picks up a camera to document everything. He notes that he had never really had an aptitude for photography before, but something about seeing Superman in action and the desire to capture his good deeds brings out the best in him. In a time when media is either bought or drowned out, they embody the idea that truth is still a weapon even when it can't stop bullets. But of course, it's not just the civilians that can learn new tricks. The Al Ghuls adapt too. The most flagrant development is how Brainiac learns to hack Sol, bringing down their defenses. Sol was a figure of strength and security, someone that the people put their faith into, and once Brainiac stuck his metaphorical fingers into his brain, everything comes crashing down, turning his Kryptonian red sunstone body into vibrant purple crystals. At the same time, Talia's use of the Father Box to augment the Peacemechs, giving them a bit more oomph, and Russ's arrival with a kryptonite blade completes the trinity of corruption. Russ's corporate greed, Brainiac's technological tyranny, and Talia's fanaticism. Russ wielding kryptonite forged into a blade is a very strong image to end on. It's a blend of space-age advanced technology turned into one of the most basic weapons, and it is being used against the world's greatest symbol of purity. And I just want to reflect a little more on that wicked, unholy trinity of corporate greed, technological domination, and religious fanaticism that we see in this issue. It's hard not to see parallels to the same cocktail poisoning our own century, where demagogues weaponize faith, billionaires bankroll fear, and algorithms whisper gospel to the already converted. The result is a world shrinking in on itself. At times we feel like we've never been more divided, more suspicious, more cruel, and all under the illusion of righteousness. And I think that this hits on why the Absolute books are selling so well. It's not that they're realistic, which is a word I have heard some people use to describe these stories, but they're not at all. It's that through their fantastical events they reflect the world we live in. I'm sure that without saying any names of real-world figures, you will probably already have a good idea of similar people in the real world, especially the Western world, that are doing the same thing. At times, things can feel pretty hopeless, but these Absolute books show us the power of resistance. You don't have to march on the streets and get into fights. Simply saying no can be enough. In this book, Superman stands against the regression, not through conquest, but through compassion. His message has never changed, that strength means nothing without solidarity, that the way forward isn't purity or profit, but cooperation, even with those you'd rather turn away from. Because only together can we rise above the greed, the gods, and the ghosts that keep dragging us back down. Absolute Superman 13 is available now from all good comic shops. I'd recommend picking up a physical copy if you can. Remember that most good comic shops will be happy to mail you your comics, but if you want instant access then you can buy them digitally too. You can get them from Amazon and a new digital platform called Neon Ichiban, set up by the founders of Comixology. For those that have been keeping up with my ever-increasing comic book collection, I recently splurged on a stack of Silver and Bronze Age Batman comics to fill in some gaps in my collection. I posted a YouTube short so you can see them firsthand. Let me know if that's the sort of thing you like to see, because I'm rethinking the overall format and structure of these videos, but I know some of you enjoyed hearing about how I'm running out of room in our storage unit. Next time, I'll be back in a few days with a video about Batman number 3, where Vandal Savage makes his move against Batman, while a new threat to Gotham's criminally insane rears its head. There aren't any Absolute comics coming out on the week of the 10th of November because Absolute Batman 14 got delayed by 2 weeks while they added 5 extra pages to it, so I'll be back the following week with a video about Absolute Flash number 9. In this issue, Wally and the Rogues raid Fort Fox in an attempt to get to the bottom of the secrets within. Hope to see you then.